vient de finir Maariv là, et il y a un autre shiur qui commence. Est-ce que je reste ou est-ce que tu veux que je rentre? T'as cuisiné? T'as cuisiné? Ok. Ouais. Non, mais il y a plein à manger. Simplement, ok. Bon, bah donc je vais rester un petit peu.
Okay, so this is the second shir in the Maimer Atem Nitzovim Tavshin Lamates. Here. You know, don't as well as the pictures are a little different there. Which is this one? Yeah. So in last week's shir, we spoke about the idea of Achdus, the idea of all of the Yidden coming together. That before we come to Rosh Hashanah, in Rosh Hashanah we need the brachas of the Eibishter, they should give us a good year. And in order to receive the brachas from the Eibishter, we all have to have Achdus. All of the Yidden have to come together. We explained that in last week's shir why. And that's the idea of the pasuk atem nitzovim yom kulchem lifnei Hashem elikechem. That the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, we always learn the parsha. We always read the parsha in Shul on Shabbos of atem nitzovim yom kulchem, that all of the Yidden come together because it's a preparation for Rosh Hashanah. However, if the idea is that we should all be together, why does the pasuk then say many different levels in Yidden? Rashechem, Shiftechem, Ziknechem, Sheitrechem, Adchete Veitzach V'Sheiv Memach. Why does he go into all the details? Seemingly that's contrary to the idea of coming together. That's contrary to the idea of oneness. Right? So he explains that we have it all wrong. You would think that what's pshat oneness? Oneness is pshat where we all forget about our individuality. We all forget about our uniqueness, our flavor, our character, our skills, our life story, all of the things that make us who we are, our life experience, that we have to forget about that. And we have to elevate ourselves and leave the things that come to us from the body. We even have to leave the differences between our neshamas, and we have to all go up to this place of oneness, to the source of all of the neshamas, like he describes in Perek Lamed Beis in Tanya. We all go back to our source, and our source we're all one. But so long as we are separate people, separate Yidden, like me and you, sitting over here in this world, so we can't come to a true oneness, and we can't get ready for the brachas of Rosh Hashanah. So he says that that's a mistake, and that's what the Parsha Atem Nitzovim teaches us, the pasuk, that Rashechem, Shiftechem, we specifically need every single individual, and that does not disturb the unity and the coming together, the oneness of all of the Yidden. And not only that it does not disturb the oneness of all of the Yidden, but it enhances it. It creates the greatest level of unity that's possible at all. And the explanation is, because what are we looking for? We're looking for a connection to the Eibishter. And if we're going to talk about a connection to the Eibishter, you have to ask, what does it mean to connect to the Eibishter? Does it mean to go higher, to reach higher? Connecting to the Eibishter means reaching higher. The Eibishter is higher. That's the definition of the Eibishter. He has a definition that he's high and not low. You can't define the Eibishter in anything, not even in levels of holiness. So if we were talking about getting closer to holiness, so over there I understand, leave your body, leave your nature, leave your character, leave who you are, and refine yourself and elevate yourself, lift yourself up to a higher place of unity, of holiness, and then you'll be together. But that's not what we need. We need to connect to the Eibishter himself. And the essence of the Eibishter is dafka connected to the body of a Yid, to the guf of a Yid.
We still didn't answer the question. There's still classifications.
That's right. Because
so where's the unity of these classifications?
Because
you're a waterman, you're a water carrier, you're this, you're that. So where's the unity?
Because the ultimate classification, the ultimate separation and division between people comes from the body. Right?
Mitzad body.
Mitzad the body, there's a separation. The Rambam famously says
Sheiv Memech and all this is mitzad body.
It's primarily, let me explain. It's primarily mitzad body, because so long as you're in Ruchnius, the spiritual worlds are called Elam Ha'achdus. They're the worlds of oneness, of unity. In general, spirituality is a lot more unified than physical existence. For example, in Rambam, in the beginning of Rambam Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, he says that there are no two malachim that are the same exact level. Every single malach is on a different level. Why? Listen to what the Rambam says. Why? Because if they were the same level, they would be the same exact thing. This idea that you can have two things that are the same exact thing, yet they're separate, is only an artifact of physicality. In the physical world, you can have two stones or two pieces of wood that are exactly identical, not almost the same. What about the neshamas?
They're all the same.
The neshamas are all the same. It depends how you mean it. Because in the neshamas, you also have levels. In the neshamas, you're talking about a spiritual entity. A neshama is spiritual. And over there, you have levels also.
We're talking about the unity.
Right.
When
Oh, so they all become one, right? Like very good. If you're talking about the neshamas, then automatically we all become one because there's no differences between them. But in the physical world, you can have two things that are exactly the same, not virtually the same, exactly the same. You can't measure any difference, not at the atomic level.
They're exactly the same. Same
Exactly.
composition, but they're still two separate pieces.
Not only same composition, if you would make two pieces of wood that are identical down to the molecular level, to the subatomic level, it wouldn't matter. They would still be two separate things. Because
in
it
this
comes,
world, there can be two separate things.
there'd still be two separate things. Let's give an example. For example, 2 + 2 = 4. It's not a physical idea. It's a spiritual equal. It's spiritually equal and intellectual, but it's not a physical thing that 2 + 2 = 4. Could you say there's 2 + 2 = 4, and then there's another 2 + 2 = 4? It's not the same 2 + 2 = 4. It's a different 2 + 2. Doesn't make any sense. 2 + 2 = 4 is one idea, one concept. You can't say there's two different 2 + 2 = 4. It's one thing. If you tell me that other types of logic or other ways of thought, philosophy is one thing, and 2 + 2 = 4, which is math, is another thing, okay, that's true, because they're different in their idea. But two things that are equivalent in their idea, like 2 + 2 = 4, is going to be one thing. You can't have separateness. The spiritual worlds in general have much less separateness than the physical world. Mashenkin, in this world, you can have two things, like we said before, that are exactly the same, and yet they're different. They're different entities. They're different existences. And certainly when it comes to Kedusha and the spiritual worlds, is the idea of Hiskalos. Everything is included in each other. Everything comes together. So if we're going to say that Dafka in the separation, Dafka in the division, you find the unity, so then we're talking primarily about the body. The body is where the primary division comes between people. And where does the essence of the Eibishter connect himself to? The essence of the Eibishter connects himself Dafka to the body of a Yid. Like we explained in last year, that the creation of this physical world out of nothingness was done by the power of the essence of the Eibishter. No level in holiness has within it the ability to create something from nothing. Only the Eibishter himself and the essence of the Eibishter, which has nothing that preceded it. Other things that came from somewhere, even the highest emanations of and revelations of godliness, but they came from somewhere. So they can't create something new. The essence of the Eibishter, which has no Ilah, he has nothing that caused him to be, comes from himself, so Dafki, he can create something out of nothingness. And that's primarily expressed in this physical world and in the physical body. So if you're going to talk about oneness and unity and coming together, how do we come together in the ultimate degree? Is when we focus on the fact that we are all part of Hashem. Any other level of unity is going to leave some lack of true oneness. Absolute oneness comes from the fact that we're all part of Hashem. And that idea is expressed Dafka in the guf, Dafka in the body. It's Dafka in the body, which is connected to the essence of Hashem, where we become one with Hashem himself, with the essence of Hashem. That's what we described in last week's shir. And we'll repeat one paragraph from last week's shir simply because it's so geschmack and it's a short paragraph. It's because of this fact that the essence of the Eibishter is connected specifically to the body of a Yid, to a physical Yid living in this world, in Neshama Beguf. Therefore, the Eibishter says, please say before me the psukim of Malchus, because I need you to declare me as king upon yourselves. The essence of the Eibishter mevakish mikol bnei Yisrael mikol echad miYisrael. Betzich by all Yidden and by Yeder Yidden. The Eibishter begs and pleads by all Yidden and by every single Yid. Shetamlichuni aleichem, please crown me upon yourself as your king. Why does the Eibishter need this? The Eibishter already has the Aved of Neshamas. The Neshamas are already serving the Eibishter. The Eibishter already envisioned the pleasure that he will receive from the service of the Neshamas of the Yidden. And the Eibishter already had this pleasure even before the world was created. So certainly he doesn't need us now to crown him Even though the Eibishter has all of that, nevertheless, he asks us now, I need you, physical Yidden in this world, to please crown me. The pleasure that the Eibishter had, and the connection that the Eibishter had to the neshamas of, in the idea of B'min Nimlach, that the Eibishter consulted with the Yidden before he created the world, that was a story of neshamas. And neshamas are not connected as much to the essence of a Yid, to the essence of the Eibishter. But what is the ultimate and truest intention of the Eibishter? What does the Eibishter really want? Is the avodah of the neshama dafka in a physical body. And only through the avodah of the neshama in a physical body, as a human being down here in this world, do we have the crowning and the coronation of the Eibishter in actuality, not just from machshava before the world was created, which this awakens and reveals the essence of the kingdom of the Eibishter, of the kingship of the Eibishter, which comes from his essence. In other words, because the Eibishter is connected dafka to the physical bodies, the essence of the Eibishter is connected to the physical bodies. So the Eibishter says the aved of the malachim is not good enough for me. It doesn't touch me to my core. What's going on in the upper spiritual worlds is not good enough for me. It doesn't touch me to my core. Even the neshamas, even the aved of the neshamas is not satisfactory enough. I don't like it enough. I like it, but it's not enough, says the Eibishter, because it's not connected to my essence. The one thing that's truly connected to the essence of the Eibishter, even more than a neshama. In other places, it's explained that the neshama vid also comes from the essence of the Eibishter. But without getting into the differences, the true connection to the essence of the Eibishter is dafka the body, dafka the physical body. That's the only thing that touches the core of the Eibishter, that touches the essence of the Eibishter. That's why the Eibishter says, nothing else is good enough for me. I need this. I need a Yid in a body down here in this world as he is, via state and gate, in the way he is as a human being, to please make me a king. And then that's going to touch my essence, the Eibishter says. That's going to touch my core. And with this, we can understand what goes on before Rosh Hashanah. Now we can understand more properly what we're doing over here. And that's why it says in atem nitzovim, it says that why are you all standing together? To enter into the covenant, to enter into the bris, which we discussed also in the previous shir at length. Every single year before Rosh Hashanah comes, in the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, we have to make a new deal, a new covenant with the Eibishter on receiving the Torah. Which this bris is similar to the covenant that we had before we went into Eretz Yisrael, which was bepashtus in atem nitzovim in the parsha. Which this covenant that Moshe Rabbeinu made with the Yidden, between the Yidden and the Eibishter, was in addition to the bris, to the covenant that the Eibishter made with them by Kabbalah Satera, or after Kabbalah Satera, shortly after at Har Sinai. Why do you need a second bris? Why did the Yidden need a second bris before they entered into Eretz Yisrael? So he says like this: the bris, the covenant that the Eibishter made with the Yidden before at Har Sinai, at that time the Yidden were all in the level of tzaddikim, and after the Yidden had a downfall, which came about through the Chet Egel, so now there was a problem with the first covenant. We broke it. We broke that. Moshe Rabbeinu made a covenant between the Eibishter and the Yidden, and we broke it. So therefore, before we enter into Eretz Yisrael, we need to have a second covenant to reestablish it, to fix what we broke. That's what you would think Pshat is, right? We made a bris, the Eibishter made a bris, he connected himself with us, we broke it, and therefore now, to fix it, to merely maybe reach where we were before, so now we have to make another bris to fix things. Listen to this beautiful word that the Rebbe says. This second covenant that the Eibishter made with the Yidden before they entered into Eretz Yisrael, and which we remake every year before Rosh Hashanah, which came after the Yidden had a downfall, which a Yidid is tzedek aliyah. Every downfall is in order to reach higher than you were before. There's no mistakes in the Eibishter's world. Even a downfall that came about through a sin is still a tzedek aliyah, is in order to reach higher. and therefore it is higher mehabris asher karasitum b'chayrev. The bris that the Yidden made with the Eibishter as Baalei Tshuva, as people who repented for the sin, is greater than the bris that they made with the Eibishter when they were tzaddikim. And that's why we have to have a second bris, because the first bris wasn't good enough. The covenant that the Eibishter made with the Yidden as tzaddikim, that didn't cut it. It wasn't good enough. He needed after a second covenant that he makes with the Yidden as Baalei Tshuva, and that's good enough. Why? In what way? Because the words la'avrecha bivris, there's a unique word over here, la'avrecha bivris. Right? If you wanted to touch it conceptually, you would touch it as you're entering into a covenant. But the word la'avrecha literally would be better touched as la'avrecha, you are passing through. You are entering into, you are passing through into a bris with the Eibishter. And this symbolizes, and this signifies that what kind of a bris are we talking about over here? Not like the first bris by Har Sinai, we're talking about a different type of a bris. There's something special about it. That over here in this bris, we're talking about a type of bris that's made in a way where you go through the two parts of the calf that we mentioned last week. They pass through one physical body, which this bris, this covenant, is the idea of the connection between the Eibishter and the Yidden until they become absolutely and completely one. To what degree? They become so much one until not only the neshama but even the body becomes one with the essence of the Eibishter, as we discussed at length earlier in the Maimon. And that's what this bris has on top of the first bris. The first bris of tzaddikim, when the Yidden were standing by Har Sinai, that was a bris that was more mitzad the neshama. It couldn't penetrate, it couldn't permeate the body. It couldn't create the complete connection between the Yid and the Eibishter that includes even his body, and especially his body. Dafke, the bris that the Yidden made after they sinned, before they went into Eretz Yisrael, as a Baalei Tshuva. Dafke, this bris encompasses their entire being and connects their entire self, including their body, to the Eibishter himself, to the essence of the Eibishter. And because of this iskashus, from the perspective of this iskashus, nasu bakshu panais panecha avaya avakesh, we reach the level of bakshu panais, seek out the pnimius of the Eibishter, and which this is avodas hatshuva. Shalamayim avodas hatzadikim. The Alter Rebbe explains in the Maimon of Pashtus the Rebbe is referencing over here that you have the avodah of tzadikim and you have the avodah of Baalei Tshuva. What's the avodah of a tzadik? The avodah of a tzaddik is where he serves the Eibishter based on what makes sense, based on what works. A tzaddik serves the Eibishter. Why? Because he understands the greatness of the Eibishter. Who's a tzaddik? A tzaddik is somebody who doesn't get fooled by what he sees going on in this world. The Yitzhahara can't fool him with his traps, can't ensnare him, can't trip him. He's always connected to the truth of the Eibishter, that the Eibishter is the creator of this world and his presence is constantly in this world and animating the world, creating the world at every moment. And he perceives this greatness of the Eibishter. The Eibishter created the entire world. And therefore he connects to the Eibishter with a tremendous love of the Eibishter and with a tremendous fear of the Eibishter, until he works on himself to become more and more unified with the Eibishter, more and more one with the Eibishter. Says the Alter Rebbe in L'Kutei on our parsha, that this madrega is not called bakshu panai. This is not connecting to the pnimius of the Eibishter. This is the madrega of achrei havshem elekechem telechu. This is the idea of following chilu, the back of the Eibishter. Why? Because you're connecting to the Eibishter on what level? That he's the creator of the world, that he animates the world, that his presence is always within the world. In other words, you're connecting to the Eibishter based on your understanding of different levels in holiness, the way they're connected with this world. Talking about levels in holiness, you're talking about your understanding, the madrega of a tzaddik. That's achrei Hashem lekechem telechem. That's only the backside of the Eibishter. It's not the pnimius, the face of the Eibishter. The pnimius of the Eibishter is way beyond any understanding, is way beyond any feeling, is way beyond any level in holiness or in godliness. It's above and beyond all of that. Be'ein areich. Who connects to that? The Baal Tshuva connects to that, not the tzaddik. Why? Because the Baal Tshuva didn't understand anything. He was in a situation of sin. If he was connecting to levels in Getlichkeit, if he knew what's what, and had a love and fear for the Eibishter, he would never do an Aveira. He broke the system. Everything is broken now, the Baal Tshuva. He broke everything. And still he's connecting to the Eibishter. Still, he feels guilty and he feels a strong desire and a strong yearning that he wants to connect to the Eibishter. What's this all about? It's beyond reason. And that's the point. That it's a connection to the Eibishter that's beyond the reason of the person, and it's connecting to a place in the Eibishter that's beyond reason. It's connecting to the essence of the Eibishter. And that's the idea of this second covenant, which is the idea of tshuva, and that's what we do every year before Rosh Hashanah. Atem nitzovim hayom, we learn the parsha, the Shabbos Mitzvah Hashem, we learn it in Shul. Atem nitzovim, the second bris, not the one as tzaddikim, which only connects the neshama. The one that connects the entire yid and primarily his body to the Eibishter in the Aveda of tshuva, and that's what's happening over here. We're connecting to the essence of the Eibishter, the essence of us connecting to the essence of the Eibishter. What's the implication of all this? What's the implication of all this? The Inyan had tshuva, if we're talking about tshuva, you have to understand that tshuva is above and beyond any measurement and any boundaries. L'mayla mehagbala dizman, it's beyond the boundaries of time. And because tshuva transcends the boundaries of time, therefore tshuva can be done in one single moment. In the hardest over, this is not artist from the Rebbe, it's the artist, it's a built-in mugamamim. In the artist over here, they're assigned to the Zohar. I didn't see the Zohar, but there's a famous Rambam, that what if you have a person who's a complete Rasha, an absolute Rasha, and there's no limit to what kind of a Rasha we're talking about. He could be a murderer or a thief, a kafir, the absolute worst Rasha. And he gives a woman, he's Mekadesh Isha. He's Mekadesh Isha. He marries a woman. He gives her a kedusha. But he makes based on a condition. He says, on condition that I am a tzaddik. There's this idea. For example, you can make a condition, you can marry a woman, you can say, I marry you on condition that if it's in by the end of 30 days, I'll make $100,000. Or that I'll find a house. Right? Let's say somebody doesn't understand that you find your wife, you marry her. He thinks that maybe it's dependent on other things. So he says, I'll marry you if I manage to get a house within a month, so you're married to me. But on condition that I'm able to find a house where we could live. If not, I don't think I could do it. So she's not Mekudesh. You can make a condition. It's called Kedushin al Tnai. So what if this Rasha makes a Kedushin? He marries the woman, he says, on condition that I'm a Tzaddik Gomer. So he's not a Tzaddik Gomer. He's a Rasha Gomer. So you would think she's not Mekudesh. What's the halacha? She's Mekudesh. Because we have a suffix over here. He may have done tshuva. How could he possibly do tshuva? Such a person has to first work on himself and leave his bad ways and elevate himself and become a tzaddik. He was a rasha, so he has to do tshuva. So we're saying that she might be mekudesh. She might be married to him. Why? Because maybe he did tshuva. When did he do tshuva? He had only a moment to do tshuva. And that would be enough. Because the idea of tshuva takes only one moment. You see Pashat and Nigla. And listen to this beautiful word that the Rebbe says, Va'adrabim. And furthermore, Ein makim klaus hat gar kein art. It doesn't make any sense. It's not reasonable to say at all that the service of tshuva should take any longer than a moment. Why should tshuva have to take any longer? To understand this, you have to understand a little bit what the idea of tshuva is. Tshuva isn't the idea of improvement. When you improve, you're always connected to the level where you were before. And therefore, if you want to improve, it's going to be a long process.
Return.
I'm not talking about the aspect of returning. I'm talking about the aspect of absolute and complete change. It's a complete change and transformation. You're no longer what you were before. You're not improving to become better. You change yourself entirely. You're no longer what you were before. I was thinking of muscle for this. For example, I'm not a good basketball player at all. No. What if I would practice? I would hit the court every day for 2 hours with a trainer and practice and practice and practice for years. I would certainly get a lot better, but I would never become an NBA player because I'd be improving myself. I'd be improving my game. Every day, the same person who has no skill in basketball, can't coordinate, doesn't know what he's doing, just doesn't have the skill for it. Every day, this same person is improving. Fine, so he improved to some degree, even to a great degree. But to become a great player, he's never going to become, because it's the same person with his limited skills and abilities improving and becoming better. The idea of tshuva, to think how crazy the idea is Lamashal waking up the next morning and finding that I could play as well as Michael Jordan. I woke up one morning, I went to sleep the way I am. I woke up one morning, Mitamo, I could play as well as the best basketball player ever. It's not Michael Jordan, whoever the best basketball player is. Mitamo, I could play like him. It's a retarded thing. Sounds like an impossibility, and it's not impossible when it comes to many different things. But when it comes to tshuva, the tshuva of a yid, that's exactly what happens. He doesn't improve. He has a complete and absolute transformation. So if we're talking about a complete and absolute switch, it's called a dilug, a jump. You make a jump. When you walk, you're always walking one foot in front of the other. Your back foot is always connected to where you were before. Even though your front foot is forward, but you're always connected. You're still the same person. You're just improving. You're moving forward. Tshuva is a jump. I completely remove myself from one place. I woke up the next morning and I can play as well or better than the best basketball player that ever lived. When it comes to tshuva, Yid can do that. And if we're talking about such a type of a thing, so why telling me it takes time? A complete transformation, a complete switch is a jump. It doesn't take time. If it's taking time, it means that I'm trying to improve myself. And that's not tshuva. I'll never reach a complete transformation. So tshuva takes just an absolute moment. Tshuva is also above the boundaries and limitations of place, including also spiritual place. In other words, tshuva also transcends the limitations of where I am in a spiritual space. Which spiritual space means in what level I am. Therefore, even a yid who finds himself in the very lowest level, and in case that's not clear enough, the Rebbe says, mitzat chatoim, mitzat sins. We're not talking about a yid who's epes, he's not der Bendel Futterfas, he's not der Beise Komler, but he's okay. No, we're talking about a yid who pashat has sins. Even for such a person, may Elis tshuva can help. Because tshuva transcends all boundaries. And this idea of tshuva is primarily expressed dafka through the body of the yid. It's that connection to the yid. Tshuva comes from that connection, from that place of the yid that's connected to the essence of the Eibishter, that his essence is connected to the essence of the Eibishter, which is primarily expressed through the body of the yid. And now we finally have the implication of the whole Maimer. That's why further in our parasha it says, the Eibishter will return your captives. But you have captives, you have people who strayed far from the Eibishter, and the Eibishter will return them. Rashi teaches, and this idea is even expressed in the simple meaning of the pasuk. Vishav, if we were to translate it literally, it would mean, and the Eibishter will how do you translate it? Vishav means that he will return, and he will return with your captives. What's Vishav? How does that make sense? Why the Eibishter isn't returning? We're captives. The Eibishter remained holy and remained where he is. We strayed far. We were held captive by Yetzer Hara because of our improper behavior, and the Eibishter will now return us to him. It doesn't say that. It says Vishav. The Eibishter himself is returning. Which the meaning of this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmei eichiz biyadav shel echad ve'echad b'Yisrael. Such beautiful words. The Eibishter himself is literally holding our hand, like a father holding the hand of his child after he's hurt, or walking him through a place maybe where the child is afraid to walk, and helping him come back home. The Eibishter is holding my hand and your hand and every single Yid's hand. The Eibishter himself is right there with us, holding our hands, and therefore he's returning, because he's coming back from captivity together with us. He's holding our hand right there. And even in this includes the body of a Yid, because like we discussed at length in this Maimah, the body of a Yid is considered holy, and it's the ultimate, the absolute holiness, and therefore had a move on bepashtus. And therefore it is readily understood. And to my understanding, this word bepashtus is the word of the whole Maimah, is the word in Aveda that talks to me in the whole Maimah. Had a move on bepashtus. It's obvious, it's readily understood that wherever any Yid is, he can come back to Hashem. Because we're talking about the body of the Yid. If we were talking about the neshama of the Yid, And we say a Yid finds himself in sin. So what does he have to do? He has to escape. If the whole story is a story of neshamas, if what makes a Yid unique, if the Aveda of Rosh Hashanah is an Aveda of neshamas, if the Aveda of a Yid is an Aveda of neshamas, so what does it mean that a Yid has to improve himself? He has to leave his body. Circumstance. Do you want to escape? You want to transcend? You want to go to your neshama? That's going to be a very long story. See how you do. Yes, the famous story with the they say it about the Rambam, but they say it also about other people. It's not dafka with the Rambam, but the point is a good point. But the argument that the Rambam had with the advisors to the king, if you could change the nature of an animal, and the Rambam said no, and they said yes, and they trained cats to serve food, whatever the story is, if it happened and if it didn't happen, and they made a big presentation where they had them all pushing the carts and bringing the pitchers and all the different things of food, bringing them to the people. And the other advisors finally won the debate against the Rambam to show that they are smarter, they understand better than the Rambam, and therefore the king should elevate them in position and disregard the Rambam. And the Rambam opened a box, let out a mouse, and all the cats dressed in their tuxedos, dropped all the cutlery, dropped all the glass dishes, and everything broke, and they went running after the mouse. So it's not true when it comes to a Yid and his body. I'm overdoing it, because a Yid can improve himself. A Yid is not like trapped in the nature of a cat who can't change himself. A Yid can. But if we're saying that the story is about escaping, then it's a little bit like the cat. In other words, you're going to escape. You think you're going to reach high levels. Let's see, work on it for 2 years, for 3 years. And then the Eibishter tests you and sees where you are. Do you still have ego left? Do you still have selfishness left? Never mind those. Can you truly say that when you see a delicious piece of cake or a delicious piece of steak or a good wine, that you have no attraction to it, that you have no desire for it? Did you truly elevate yourself? The people who can truly reach that level are few and far in between. This is reserved. This is the territory of tzaddikim, who pashat hate the physical pleasures of this world because they perceive how the physical pleasures of this world divide them from the Eibishter, so they hate it. But for a standard Yid, you're going to tell me that I could do tshuva? Do you know who I am? How am I going to do tshuva? I have to escape my whole entire self. It's going to take me years. Maybe I'll never complete it. But if we're saying that tshuva and connection to the Eibishter comes from the body, then it's moving b'pashtus that I'm right here next to the Eibishter. I don't have to escape him. The way I am, and specifically the way I am, a human being in a physical body. That's where we find the deepest and truest connection to the Eibishter. And I don't have to have any big chidushim. You don't have to convince me into it, because you're telling me that it's me. I can do it. The human being who I am, as I am. And that's the difference in the way we look at what's going on now in Elul, in Mitzvah Hashem soon in Rosh Hashanah, based on this Maimer. We have to realize we don't have to escape. If we have to escape, we're not sure we could do it, or we're not sure how much we could do it. We have to connect to what we really are. And what we really are, we don't mean our neshama. We mean to say our bodies. We are the bodies of a Yid, which is connected to the essence of the Eibishter. The essence of the Eibishter himself wants us to make him king as we are. And this we could all do. We're right here. It's me. You want me to come as I am and declare the Eibishter king? Okay, I could do it. And I'm going to do it. In Rosh Hashanah. That's what every Yid has to tell himself. Where
are you?
Three lines from the end of the second to the last paragraph. In any place where a Yid finds himself, even if a Yid finds himself at the edges, all the way at the edge of the horizon, at the edge of the heaven, he finds himself over there together with the essence of the Eibishter, because a Yid, a physical Yid in a corporal body, is one with the Eibishter literally. And that's why the pasuk doesn't say v'heshiv, that Hashem will return you, that Hashem comes back with you, because he's always connected with you right where you are. We'll skip the parentheses. And that's the meaning of the pasuk atem nitzovim, that you're all standing today before the Eibishter, shekol nitzutzei haneshamas, all of the sparks of the neshamas of various different levels. Not the way they find themselves in their source of the neshamas, but as each one becomes a separate spark and a separate neshama. Even there, they stand rooted before Havaya, higher than Havaya. In other words, in the essence of Hashem. They become one with Lifnei Havaya, which means, in other words, which comes primarily from the body. It's the body that goes through a covenant, that goes through the physical portions of the calf. A physical body connects itself to the Eibishter. Yisrael u'malka b'chudohi, and this is a place where only the Eibishter, where the only things that exist are the Eibishter and Yidden. Nothing else can enter into that space, into that inner place of the Eibishter, the Adrabah. And on the contrary, Iker Hadin b'Rosh Hashanah, the primary judgment of Mashazeichim b'Din. Sorry, I must have skipped. V'alidei gam nitzovim. And through this connection, through revealing this connection of atem nitzovim, so they also stand upright. Kepirsa Baal Shem Tov, that this means kayamim v'eimdim, that the Yidden are sustained and succeed. They continue standing. They don't fall, chas v'shalom. Hainu shezeichim b'din, that they are meritorious in the judgment that occurs on Rosh Hashanah. V'lei rak v'negei l'inyanim ruchnim. They're not only meritorious when it comes to spiritual matters, but when it comes to the body, now we're in trouble. Elegam v'negei l'inyanim gashmiyim. Also, when it comes to the physical goodness of a Yid, he should have the money he needs, he should have the parnasa he needs, he should have the health he needs, he should have the peace of mind he needs, he should have the beauty in his life, the spirit, the good spirit in his life. He should have everything pashat good begashmias. That every single Yid should have a good and sweet year, like the Rebbe teaches in other places. Sweet means begashmias. That's why we use the word sweet. The bani chayi umazeni, in all aspects of life, which are generally categorized into three categories of children, health and life, and sustenance and the needs, the money and other needs that a person has. Ubekulam revichi, and all of them should be ba'archava. All of them should be in a very broad manner. And if we understand what it means when it says ba'archava, this is typically what we call richness. B'teiv hanidav hanigla, and a revealed and in a good way that can be seen and that is revealed. And we all be benched, like the Rebbe says, the bracha of the Rebbe that he gave us over here in this Maimer, we should appreciate who we are and what we are, and it should give us spirit, it should give us strength, it should give us energy in our service of the Eibishter. And we should all go together with the Rebbe leading us towards Mashiach Tzidkenu immediately now before Rosh Hashanah.
Good.